Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned, because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Wow, everybody, welcome to the show. We got a great show for you today. I want to just start out by saying, you know, when you enter the world that I entered in 2003, I didn't even know what I didn't know. But thanks for the gift of dis-ease in 2004, my pathway or journey to wellness was able to capture so many different things that I didn't even know existed. One of the more powerful things along the way to becoming me today was I'm just going to call it a baseline understanding of quantum biofeedback. And I say baseline because I'm not the expert. My expert today is Bethel Wagner, and she's joining me here today. For those of you, just write this down so you know how to find out more. Along the way today, you may hear some things, but go to sagewellness.center. Did I get that right, Bethel?
That's it. Sage Wellness
Perfect.
Center. Yep.
Yeah. sagewellness.center. And why? Because we're going to take a deep dive. We're going to take a dive into the conscious, the subconscious, and beyond. And here's the opening question for today. What if we were to tell you that your body and your subconscious and superconscious mind held all the information and answers you need in order to heal at any level, and dare I say, every level? Bethel, let's go. I mean, what if we were to say that? What if you were to say that?
Well, I am ready to say that. It can sound kind of crazy, like, seriously, we hold all of the information that we need. That sounds a little far out when you first hear it, I think.
Yeah. So tell me, what does the subconscious mind hold? Now, the reason I'm able to ask you this question is because it doesn't matter how many years I studied psychology. It wasn't until I got unwell did I get a sense of how much I didn't know or how much they don't teach you. So talk about this. Our subconscious mind hangs out with us, but what's in there?
So much information in the subconscious mind. So I kind of think of the subconscious mind as it's the thing that's just running in the background all the time. We're not really fully aware of it, and yet it's like recording every experience that we have from the get-go, even before we're born. It's like recording everything that's happening to us, and it's taking that information, and it's kind of like writing programs to keep us safe, to help us survive. And that's a beautiful, amazing, wonderful thing. The only problem is occasionally we get to a point where one of those programs is no longer serving us well, and it actually starts to kind of interfere. And we may be holding a belief or a thought pattern or just even an emotion or something could kind of be stuck at that subconscious level, and it can end up eventually surfacing or manifesting in some sort of physical illness or symptom.
Yeah, it's funny. I found myself just sitting with Linda here yesterday or over the weekend and reflecting on my childhood in a strange way, like out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, I started to reflect on, we pulled these medicine cards and she had pulled the horse, and I had these moments where I was reflecting on, at a very young age, how I was drawn to them, and we just started to talk story. Now, where did it come from? Why did it show up yesterday? I do not know. But that's only one aspect of something. But I felt compelled to talk about it, which is a little bit unusual for me. But there's also this superconscious mind. So let's talk about what that is, because people confuse these two my experience is quite a bit. I confuse them.
Well, I'm not sure that either one is like fully understood by any means. I mean, these are really deep, complex matters that are still widely debated and being researched by neuroscientists and by philosophers, and like they're not super clearly defined at this point, and I'm not sure we will ever fully understand them because it's just so big and so amazing. But the way I think of the superconscious mind, you could almost say the higher self, or maybe our connection to like that quantum field, our connection to all of that information that is out there. And most of us don't realize that we can actually connect to that and tap into it in some way, but we actually are able to. It's definitely something that can require some practice and kind of a journey to get there. And there are other tools that can help us, and we'll get into that later in the episode. But the superconscious mind is very much the place or the thing we can connect to that can, in conjunction with the subconscious mind, give us those answers of, oh, this is what's at the root of this illness. This is where it came from, kind of what caused it. And then we can go, oh, this is what we need in order to heal this.
Yeah.
And it could be any number of different things, but that information is all present there. And we're able to tap into it with what I think of as the superconscious mind. I'm sure there's probably a lot of debate around that and maybe different opinions on that, but that's just kind of my practical working definition of that.
But we've seen it. I mean, there's not enough time in the episode to really pinpoint examples, but we've seen things. And I want to talk about this. Let's jump to the body. I remember reading an article, like a long time ago, about a mom who, car accident, baby's in the car is getting ready to roll over on some cliff in California. And mom gets out of the car, baby's in the car, strapped in, and mom literally pulls the car. Literally grabs the car, pulls the car off the cliff. Now, why are we talking about that? Because all of those things had to be operating at a very instantaneous level without any question or doubt.
Right.
At all. So bring us through the connection to the body, because if we understand this, that's where we can truly understand how bringing this all together heals, but even more importantly, the role that quantum biofeedback can play, right?
Right. So the body is also an amazing source of information. You can almost think of every cell in your body as like a little radio receiver. When we break it down, our cells are made of molecules, which are made of atoms, which are made of all these little packets of energy, which are constantly sending and receiving information. And the other fascinating thing about the body is that it can store experiences or emotions that we have not been able to fully process. And those can get stored in various tissues throughout the body. And we see this a lot. A lot of times, if you talk to body workers, they will talk about this. I had someone very recently was trying to do some body work with her, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's like she's this beautiful, vibrant person, but her body was just closed. It was like it did not want to respond. And then it came out that she had been in 3 car crashes within the time of a year. I was like, oh, that's it. Her body is just constantly bracing for impact. And as soon as we uncovered that and it came to light, she also happens to be an energy worker. So it was like really easy for her to tap into this. As soon as we brought that up and I said, oh, your body's just stored this. It's just bracing for impact all the time. She did the energy work. She cleared it. And the next time her body was so responsive. It was so different. But we had to get to that layer of what the body had stored, what it had been holding on to for however many years since this experience. So it's just fascinating that the body can give us that type of detailed information that we can pick up on.
There's no question about it. I mean, I want to talk about this now and shift a bit to, quantum biofeedback. Now, the story you told, okay. When I was a kid growing up in the Bronx, my experience was we went to Bronx Beach and pool, a gazillion people in the pool. Okay, come right, like a big community pool, like millions of people in the pool. My sister decides that here I am at some very young age, like 6 or something, and she is going to throw me in the deep end because that's what they did. However, you don't do it with a million people in the pool because you watch your child if you want to do that. So somebody's in the. So here I am in the deep end of the pool with a million people, and I'm telling you, my experience at that moment scared me for life until I went to Hawaii. But that one event in my mind, water will kill me, right?
Right.
It didn't matter if it was the Jersey Shore with my little foot in the water. If I went out too far, even up to my knees, I had that reaction to it. So let's talk about, and that's just one thing. Every day now, we're being bombarded with
Right.
situations. So tell us about what quantum biofeedback does and how did it work with the person, your friend that you are working with?
So, quantum biofeedback is basically just this beautiful tool that allows us to have this conversation with the body, with the subconscious, with the superconscious. It allows us to access all of those layers. It allows us to also work at the level of emotions and even to some degree, kind of at the spiritual level. Um, so, it's quantum in the fact that it's picking up on um, those messages, that information that the body is constantly sending and receiving. So it becomes this two-way conversation between the person's body and their sub and superconscious mind and the system. And so then what happens is we have this conversation, the system picks up on those things. It picks up on what in the body is sending a distress signal, what is saying I'm out of balance and I need support. And it can also pick up on the body saying, I have a really strong reaction towards something or really strong reaction away from something. It may be something that is a harmful chemical or something they've been exposed to or something like that. And then once we pick up on that, then the beautiful piece is that then we can use the biofeedback system to send a correcting frequency back to the body. So you can think of it as an instrument that's like a little bit out of tune. We hear that, oh, that string is a little sharp or a little flat and it's not playing in tune. And it's like turning the tuning peg, and we bring it gradually back into tune with the rest of the body. And then the body begins to remember, oh, this is what balance is. This is where I'm supposed to be. So over time, we can recreate that sense of harmony and balance within the body.
Yeah. See, what I love about this is we are more exposed to this than we think. And I want to make a point of it, and then we're going to go through this. Let's define healing for a moment. Okay. So, healing, sometimes we do talk about the body and the physicality of when something happens to us, right? And we get physically harmed, right? We do have those things. For example, I have a scar on my forehead from jumping on beds and jumping really high. I'm not kidding. This is true. I grew up in the projects, so, I mean, not much to do in the projects. But jumping on the bed as like 4-year-old or 5-year-old kid, because that was me. I love to jump. Jumping on the bed, jumped so high, hit the radiator that was right under the window, scarred. Thank God for the radiator, because I'm telling you, that thing, I would have been out the window. But it had an impact on me around beds for a long time. But I want to talk about this because somebody asked me the other day, and I would love for you to talk about this. We are bombarded now in film, in news, just you name it. And I don't think I've ever been as scared. And I grew up with horror movies left and right until I watched Nightmare on Elm Street. Linda hasn't gone into the water since Jaws. But now these are things that are not real, and we know they're not real. When the movie Halloween came out, people didn't go in their closets without a bat in their hand. How does all this tie together in how it drives us, even though we know they were not real? But are they?
Well, the nervous system and the mind don't really make a distinction between an actual physical threat, like there is a grizzly bear chasing me, versus something from a movie or just an emotional situation that still feels scary. Our body and our biology respond exactly the same way, whether it's quote unquote real or not. So both are going to have just the same amount of impact. It doesn't matter either way. If it's making that fight or flight signal kick off in the body, we're off to the races.
Yeah.
Unless we intentionally do something to reset ourselves and kind of nip that in the bud and redirect,
Yeah.
going to set off that whole cascade of the stress response in the body. And then once the body gets into that cycle, it can turn into a vicious cycle. We get that psychosomatic two-way conversation going, right? There's something in the psyche that scares us, it sets off a physical response, and then the physical response ratchets up what's going on mentally and emotionally, and then increases what's going on physically, and it can just turn into an absolute nightmare.
Let's talk about something real in terms of physical illness. And I'll use myself as an example. I want you to walk us through how quantum biofeedback works for this. There are diseases that are real. My experience in 2004, after just starting the show, was I came down with a mystery disease. What I then learned it was now we have language for it, but I was in what they call stage 4 of chronic Lyme disease, and you don't live through that. So what did that do to me? Even to this day, what did that do to me? And it took me 10 years, right? With a lot of people like you helping me out. But to this day, I'm telling you, it's just interesting. We were out there picking blackberries, and I saw a little mark on Linda's arm, and I went in to like a lot of F words and a lot just like, stop! Don't give me your arm. It was a piece of dirt. But
that's understandable.
But you understand, that was one example. Similarly, COVID-19, we went through the pandemic. In my state, people are coming down with it left and right. And you see somebody sniffling, and something kicks in. So how do we overcome these? Now, clearly for me, the tick thing was real. It wasn't a tick. And then there actually was a bug on her. I captured the bug, and I knew better that it was too dang big to be a tick. It was a, what do you call them, stink bug or something.
Oh, yeah, way bigger.
But it kind of ended up the whole blackberry thing because I went into hypervigilance. So help us through how we go through. Now, some of this is a very healthy reaction, but a lot of it is not. How does quantum biofeedback help us, please?
So there's multiple layers here, but we can start with the physical layer. So the beautiful thing with the quantum biofeedback is, again, everything has a very specific frequency that it operates, including, say, Lyme's disease and the spirochetes and the rickettsia and all of those things involved in that particular disease.
Yep.
So if you think of like an opera singer, they sing at a certain frequency, there's a glass that's the same frequency, and what happens if they sing that same frequency long enough or loud enough, what happens to the glass?
Shatters.
It shatters. It's the same principle. If we know the frequency of a specific organism that is involved in somebody's illness, we can send the appropriate frequency to it until it basically destroys it. Now, there are other layers we have to pay attention to. If we're going to go destroying things, we need to make sure that we have pathways of elimination open so the body can clear it out and all of those good things. But that's kind of the basic principle at a physical level of what we do with things like Lyme's disease or other specific pathogens that we identify. We can also, though, look again at that mental emotional side of it. So that fear response that kicks in when, oh no, you've got a tick on you, or that person has the sniffles, I'm going to come down with fill in the blank, COVID-19, the flu, whatever, that fear response, we can still use quantum biofeedback again to work with those layers because, again, emotions are just energy in motion. They have specific frequencies. So we can actually use the system to help balance out those emotions. It's probably not going to completely solve it all in one session, but we can take it from an extreme and bring it towards center to where it's more manageable. And then we can also just work directly with the person's nervous system and bring it out of that fight or flight response. We can gently work with the vagus nerve and the autonomic nervous system to help that bring that back into balance. And that's actually one of the places that quantum biofeedback just absolutely shines, is just rebalancing people's nervous systems. I see it almost every session. You can see where they're at when they walk in, and then there's this moment that's just magical. It's like, down, and all of a sudden they're just like half asleep, or they aren't chattering so fast. They just get really quiet, and it's beautiful because you know that their body's just shifting into that rest and repair side of the nervous system.
You know, I want to tell you how important what you do is to me personally, because I would not be here today without the energy medicine, the modalities that you just talked about. I happen to be fortunate enough to have moved to the Pacific Northwest and became exposed back in 2003 and 4 to like the OnDemand machine, one of the first machines, Rife technology. So the technology now has really, would you say, really accelerated in terms of what we can use. This is miraculous because I'm not supposed to be here, number one, and wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those things you mentioned and more. The second thing I'd like you to talk to is what we don't talk about enough. Part of healing is getting rid of the stuff in your body. So I loved colloidal silver. I loved it. I drink it. And nobody told me until a week later that I was having a Hertz reaction. So can you walk us through quantum feedback also helps us rebuild, but we have to do things on our part, Bethel. Tell us about that.
Right. So I already kind of mentioned we need to make sure pathways of elimination are open, which again is, there are multiple ways to do that. We can use something like quantum biofeedback to start that process so the body can actually rid itself of those toxins and pathogens. We can also use homeopathics or herbals and lots of other things that we can bring in to support the process. You can bring in other things like lymphatic drainage and massage. There's like so many tools to help support that process so that it's not so overwhelming. It doesn't have to be quite so harsh. And I think there's definitely a big move in that direction, which I'm really happy to see, because it used to be like, oh, you're going to go through this healing crisis and it's going to be this awful thing. And somewhere along the way, people got smart and went, maybe we could be a little bit gentler and make this less traumatic. But then the building up process is also important. So simple things like just making sure that the body can actually absorb the nutrients that you're taking in can help to build the body up. Again, balancing the nervous system is huge to rebuilding the body. When the nervous system is really well balanced and it's able to kind of toggle back and forth appropriately instead of getting stuck in one side or the other, that opens up the ability for the body to just begin healing itself. You don't really have to do that much. We're just giving the body the bandwidth it needs to do what it was originally designed to do.
Yeah. I read an article because I think I don't share this that often, but I just had a bout of COVID, really bad bout, because I waited too long, in my words, to do my protocol and what I need to do. But what I read about was the importance of the vagus nerve and what was important about that and how powerful that is. And, you know, honestly, you have the skill to help people get back in balance. Me, I just read about it and then I have to find the people to help me. But we are now learning more about the nervous system and the impact of it. So I wanted to ask you this message. You know, as we go into and understand the quantum world, you know, can it be done remotely now? That's my first question. Where are we with that? And then how does that work for people?
Yeah. So The answer is yes, we can do things remotely. Technically, we can no longer call it quantum biofeedback. We have to call it a subspace session.
Okay, good.
One of those little fine details we just have to say.
Okay.
But again, if you think about, we use cell phones that send signals hundreds and thousands of miles away. We use Wi-Fi that sends signals over long distances. We have radio waves that send signals over long distances. It's the exact same principle. So basically, we just need the information to know, what radio station are we tuning into? Oh, we are tuning into Dr. Pat's radio station today. So we just enter your information so we know who we're connecting with, and we're off to the races. I will say distant sessions, we find, are maybe not quite as effective as having someone in the chair with the straps on, but can still be very effective. We can still come up with a lot of information that can be very helpful to the person. My coworker, when we first were getting started, went on a trip to Mexico. She called me up. She's like, I have this horrible head cold. My sinuses are stuffy. Like, I feel horrible. Could you please run me? So I did. And she was like, what time did you run me? Because there was a moment when all of a sudden my sinuses opened and they drained. And that's what it was. We were doing the biofeedback and her body got the signal and did what it needed to do. So it can be effective long distance.
I love it. I love it. We've heard stories like this from all over the world, especially ancient energy healers and medicine. Thank you for today. I'd love to know your closing message, but also how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, my closing message is just that quantum biofeedback is a really powerful tool to help people deeply connect to their physical body, but also mentally and emotionally and spiritually, which opens the door for profound transformations in their health and in their life. I like to say that, like, biochemical communication within the body is fast, but energy communicates even faster. So why don't we harness that and use the field of energy medicine to promote healing? And if you're somebody who feels like you've tried everything and nothing is working, you're not getting anywhere, I would really invite you to just try quantum biofeedback or some form of energy medicine and see if it can get you through that block to the next level, because I think it can really make a huge difference. As far as getting in touch with me, like you said, super easy, just sagewellness.center. And Quantum Biofeedback is up on the website under the services page. You can also just set up a free consultation with me and kind of figure out where you need to start.
I love it, Bethel. Thank you so much for today, but thank you for educating people. And, for me personally, I know it works because I know I wouldn't be here had I not become part of the experimentation, as I like to call it, going through something for a disease that nobody really even recognized existed, except for people like you. And we're able to provide the quantum healing experience for so many people. Thank you so much for everything you do.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Thank you all for tuning us in. Please get a hold of Bethel. If you have just a question, just ask. And remember, the solutions are right there. Our bodies are so powerful. Sometimes we just need to get things operating in balance and harmony. See you next time.